Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 2nd of December 2022, and another couple of video recommendations for you today. I'm absolutely coming out with them this week, aren't I? Left, right and centre, so many video recommendations. I can barely keep up with it. I don't know about you guys, but the first one, now this guy, he's called Nigel Watson, and I've only just come across his channel literally in the last 3 weeks or so. I don't know if it's one of a viewer here who recommended him to me, or whether he just popped up in my YouTube feed, but I saw something he did about 3 weeks ago and subscribed to his channel because I thought he was pretty good. And really, I've been watching a few of his videos here and there ever since. He seems to put a video out, I don't know if it's every day, but certainly a few a week. And if you like people sort of like me and Lee and Marty and all of these other guys I talk about, sort of Carl Vernon, people who just sit here and talk to the camera giving our thoughts, you'll likely sort of like Nigel as well. And his latest video, well, I think it's his latest one, it's quite interesting because he's an English guy, but he's living in Finland currently. He moved over there about 2 years ago at the absolute height of the craziness, and partly because he's got a Finnish wife, and his son's also a Finnish citizen as well, but he just wanted to get away from all of the craziness here. So it's an interesting story. I thought what he said was very interesting, why he chose Finland. It wasn't just because his wife's Finnish, but because they're still quite bad with all of the muzzles and lockdowns and everything, but they weren't as bad as here. You weren't obliged to, don't think you're 100% obliged to muzzle up absolutely everywhere, and there's a bit more freedom, I think. So that was one of the reasons why he went there. But yeah, an interesting story, and I'll link to it in the description box and the comment section below here, because it is on this platform. And yeah, I can recommend you subscribing to him. I'm not sure how I haven't come across him before, because he must have been around for a while. He's got sort of about 10,000 subscribers, so he must have been around at least as long as me, if not a bit longer. But he's, as I say, he's only just popped up. And the point he was making about moving away from the craziness here, to be honest with you, it was something I seriously considered myself late 2020, early 2021. I just thought, if they're going to keep doing these lockdowns every few months or every few weeks, nah, I'm not staying here. I'm not putting up with this. And that is before you even got on to mandated V's. And had that got really, really bad, luckily it didn't here, but had that got really bad and it was getting to the stage where you were literally a second-class citizen, you couldn't go into shops or pubs or anything, well, again, I wouldn't have stood for it, and I would have sort of moved away as well. Well, I'd have seriously considered moving away. Whether I would have done so or not, I don't know. First of all, it's like, where would you have gone? There was a few places, Sweden, Finland, and also places like Mexico, certain parts of the United States like Florida could have gone to, and maybe places in Africa. He made the very interesting point, Nigel did, about if things really did get bad like that again, you may well be better off going to some kind of third world country, or second world country in the case of Mexico, purely and simply because they really can't afford to do all of this new world order social credit system, locking you down here, there and everywhere sort of thing. You know, they literally haven't got the money to put surveillance cameras everywhere, to have police and other state authorities absolutely everywhere, which they need to do to keep on top of the population. And so that is a very, very interesting thing. He also made the point that it sounds a bit contradictory or counterintuitive, but if you go to a country that's well known for corruption, because, well, you know, even if the powers that shouldn't be decided to give some third world country lots of money to bring in a social credit system, well, you know, if they're very corrupt, the officials will probably just take the money and run and not bother doing anything as well. So that was another good point, I thought. And I remember when I went to Bali about 3.5 years ago. No, it wasn't 3.5 years ago, but just over 3 years ago. And with that place, the southern half of the island is really touristy. That's where all the Australian and European tourist trade is and everything, and it's very busy there. But if you go up to the northern part of it, it's a lot quieter. And I kind of went up there for a few days, and on the way up there I actually saw 2 kids on a motorbike, literally 8, 9, 10-year-old kids, 2 of them on this motorbike driving along, and I was, you know, couldn't believe it. And I said to the guy who was taking me up there, I said, blimey, you know, surely they're going to get stopped soon. And he just said, no, there's not really that many police up here. And which I couldn't believe. So if there's not even enough police to prevent kids from getting on motorbikes, there's certainly not going to be enough of them to impose the old New World Order up in the top end of Bali there, and so many other places as well. So I thought that, you know, if you do have to escape your country, whether it's the UK, United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, one of those sort of places may well be a good bet. And who knows, we may still yet have to be considering that and taking that course of action at some point in the future. I hope not. And the reason why in the end I personally didn't move abroad is because I thought, no, I'm going to just stay here, and I'm going to do whatever I can to try and stop this thing in its tracks. And personally, I thought you're better off doing that if you're on the ground, as it were, in your own country. If you move to another country, even if it's another English-speaking country, you know, let's say Florida. Say me and Lorraine decided to go to Florida. Okay, they speak the same language, but it's a totally different system, a totally different legal system, bureaucratic system, political system, etc., etc. Even learning the road system, you know, the sort of American or Floridian highway code, and that kind of thing. It's such a huge learning curve. And then if you go somewhere where English isn't the first language, you just compound that 100-fold, because you've got the language barrier as well. But if you stay in the UK, at least you know the system, and had things got really bad, and if things do get really bad again, I'm gonna just use the system against the powers that shouldn't be, you know, with common law stuff and all of that kind of thing. And because I know a bit about common law now, and obviously I speak English. Some people watching this might disagree, but I'm an English speaker, and so that gives me a head start. And I think there's a lot of people, isn't there, for many years who have played the system. You know, they get to know it, inside out, and then they know the loopholes. And no matter what nonsense the powers that shouldn't be bring in, there's always some recourse you can have to get around the nonsense, get around whatever silly rules they bring in. And so that is really why I made the personal decision not to move away. But as I say, who knows what's going to happen in the future, and if things got really bad here, it may well be something that Lorraine and I may have to consider again in the future. But I hope not. I hope we've done enough to stave things off for the time being, which then buys us time to find out ways to, you know, get around the system and beat the system, as it were, should it decide to get out of order again in the future at some point. So anyway, just some points to consider there. Thanks to Nigel's video. As I say, I'm going to leave a link to it in the description box and the comment section below here. And talking of videos, I've got another one that I've put on my website, so it's going to be in the description box below here, link to my website, and then from there you can go on to Rumble. And I've got the latest video from last Saturday, the Conversation 3 event that I attended in Burgess Hill on the 26th there. And this time it was Linda Keane again, speaking about her mum Catherine, who sadly passed away in the care home. I got the interview with her privately, but this video is her sort of proper speech, where she says a few things that she didn't say in the video with me. And after that, there's a bit of a Q&A session with her, Kate Shemirani and Jackie Devoy. All three of them are there answering questions from the audience, and that's well worth watching, because one of the points they made was, if you ever find yourself having to go into a care home or a hospital, or a loved one has to do that, a really good thing to do, according to those three anyway, is to get yourself a patient advocate, as they called it, which is basically someone who will speak for you, look out for you if you have to go into a hospital and you're kind of incapacitated and can't really speak for yourself. They can be there, or at least somewhere nearby, fighting your corner for you. I don't know much about it. It was just mentioned. I'd kind of forgotten all about it until I edited the video last night and watched it again. But it may well be something to look into if you're in that situation, or you think shortly you might be in that situation. But anyway, do watch that video as well, and both of the videos, or the links to them, will be in the description box below here, and with Nigel's one in the comment section below here as well. So I'll let you go and do those, and I'll be back tomorrow. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.